Walk tall. Great pleasure to schlep all the way from a very long distance on the road. Um, you will know, I'm sure, that on Pesach, particularly first day, not particularly, on first day Pesach, one of the main features of the service is the prayer for Jew, Filat Tal. Now, we pray, as you know, for Jew at the beginning of the dry season, beginning of winter, of summer, and we pray for rain as like a sister prayer, if you like, beginning of the rainy season, because we need to have rain in its. So it's fine. We should have rain. We've got to have rain in its right time. And Jew, which I'm going to talk about mainly in a moment, I'll come back to, but it's an interesting discussion. Why we pray for Jew altogether? I can understand I need to pray for rain. And the reason I pray for rain is because the amount of rain that we get depends on us. God, look, we say every single day, Shalom Lechem, V'yifkar B'Avachem, Sa'atem V'adtem Elokim Achem, V'shtach V'chara Af Hashem B'Achem, God will be angry with you if you do the wrong things, V'atzor et Hashemayim, He will close up the heaven. So the amount of rain we get depends on us. You may well be familiar with the story of Choni HaMagal. They have the time when there's a terrible drought, and he drew a circle on the ground and stood inside the circle. He said to the Bonish Lelam, if you don't bring, I'm not going out there till you bring rain. So he could influence God to bring rain. The prophets influenced God to bring rain. There is a whole tractate of the Gemara Tanit, with great chunks of it deal with what happens in time of drought. And it tells you the whole procedure, whole system, what to do, which prayers to say, which days to fast, in order to persuade HaKadosh Baruch Hu to send rain. So I can understand it's logical that I want to pray for rain, because rain depends on me. Right, but very, very big difference with Jew. Tal doesn't depend on me at all. The rabbis say that Jew comes anyway. Jew, they look upon, they say Jew is a bracha. If you look through the Tanakh, you'll be astonished when you start looking at the number of times Jew is mentioned, and particularly in connection with bracha. Isaac blessed Jacob. May God give you from the dew of heaven. He blessed Esau similarly. You should benefit from the tal, from the dew. Moshe blessed the tribe of Yosef. May God bless his land, and may have the precious things of heaven, the dew. And Varim, we have Shamayim Yarfu Tal. Even heaven shall drip with dew. Said of Hazinim. We're told that there is a seventh heaven that contains the dew that God is going to use to revive the dead on the day of resurrection. There's no reason to pray for Tal. Tal comes in any case. So why do we pray for Tal? We pray for Tal, pardon? Oh. Maybe. We pray for Tal because it's for our benefits, to remind us. It's to remind us not to take things for granted. HaKadosh Baruch Hu provides things on the world, and we just take them for granted. We're supposed to be there, we're supposed to be healthy, we're supposed to have this, we're supposed to have that. And dew is one of the things we're supposed to have. But it's to remind us, we still have to recognize that God provides dew for us, and that is to our benefit. In fact, dew is definitely to our benefit. I think they developed ways of collecting dew, haven't they? So they can use it for irrigation. Well, it doesn't do dew, it does water. But they have done such things. Now, it's an interesting question, I think, which I've been thinking about quite a bit, is to why did the rabbis see dew as almost having this magical quality. What's special about you? I've been thinking about it, and I haven't seen anything written on about it, but I think it's to do with the fact that dew suddenly appears. You know, you can see rain, you can see the clouds. Clouds bring rain. I can see where rain comes from. You can't see where dew comes from. It just suddenly, it's here. Ich bin du. Ich bin dew. The rain just suddenly appears. And I think it has something to do with this. Why the Chachamim were so, well, in fact, the whole of, even in the Tanakh, why Jewish forms such a very important, important part of our lives. The next question is, why do we pray for dew on Pesach? Now, the obvious answer is because it's the beginning of the dry season, when you wouldn't expect any moisture, but we want the dew. And the dew apparently looks after grass, for example. There is a midrash, the Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, that tells us that this instant when Yaakov stole the bracha from his brother took place on Pesach. And the midrash says this: when the night of Pesach came, Yitzchak called to Esav, his elder son, told him, "My son, on this night the angels recite Hallel, and the treasure chambers that contain dew from heaven open wide. So go and prepare for me a savory meal. I can bless you while I'm still alive." As we know, Yaakov nicked the bracha. He stole it from his brother. And the Midrash continues, when Jacob emerged from the tent after his father Isaac blessed him, he was adorned like a bridegroom with the fresh dew of heaven fallen on him, so he became strong and mighty. He said this is one of the reasons that we say the prayer for dew on Pesach. The prayer that we use, composed by a man called Kalir, who was a Palestinian. We really don't know much about him at all. He lived, we think, and actually I've seen various suggestions with wildly different suggestions as to when he actually lived. But according to some views, he lived about 670 of this era. So very soon after the Gemara was completed, Babylonian Talmud, that is. And it is said that he was a disciple of another 6th century composer of Piyut called Yanai. And the legend says that Yanai became jealous of Kalir's knowledge and of his ability, and he caused his death by putting a scorpion into his shoe, into Kalir's shoe, which bit him and killed. Anyway, we don't know for sure. The thing about dew is that, interestingly, we do actually ask for dew in this prayer. We don't ask for rain in Geshem. If you look at Geshem, if you look at the prayer, we don't ask for rain. We just say that God has the ability to bring rain. But in the prayer for dew, we actually do ask, degree that we should have dew for a year. Let dew drop on the blessed land. Why do we pray for dew at the time that we pray for dew? And why do we only mention rain at the time we pray for rain? There's a good reason for it. See, Geshem, we say when? When do we say Geshem? Well, Shmini Atzeret, the end of Yom Tov. Why? Because if we said it at the beginning of Yom Tov, and all the pilgrims had come, they'd get drowned there if our prayers were answered on the way home. We don't have that problem with dew. Nobody ever died from dew, drowning from dew, as far as I know. So that's why we say dew at the beginning of Yom Tov, we say Geshem at the end of Yom Tov. Now, the conclusions, although the bulk of the prayer, or the amount we say, in fact, Kalir wrote a lot more than we say. You can find Machzorim which have a much longer version of Kal or Geshem than we actually say. Fortunately, we don't say it, or we'd be there all day. But the bulk of the prayers are different. But the end, when you get to the very end, they're identical. The prayer for Kal and the prayer for Geshem end the same way. We say, and I think it's a little bit puzzling. we say livracha v'lo liklala. May God give us for blessing and not for curses. L'chaim v'lo lamavet. May give us for life and not for death. May give us la sova v'lo razon, for plenty and not for scarcity. Why do we say the opposite each time? Why don't we simply say, will you please give us kol for blessing, for life, and for plenty? Why do we mention the opposites? Well, there are blessings that can contain elements of curses in them. There are some people who have big houses, they have luxury cars, they gave their children the very best, but they didn't get very much nachas from the children. They're very wealthy, but they spend most of their time either collecting money or looking after what they've got and trying to get even more. So we pray, if you give us bracha, don't give us any klala in the bracha. The bracha you give us, make it complete bracha. There's some people who live for a very long time, but never they're very lonely towards the end of their lives. I wouldn't like to tell you a number of people that used to visit. Sure, cousin also, when you go to homes and you see people, the children take them to homes, and they dump them in a home, never don't even come and see the children anymore, rather to their parents anymore. So we pray to God when we get to the end of our lives, let our lives still have meaning. Right to the very end, that our children not be in a hurry to get rid of us, to inherit us. Let not society neglect us. So we say to God, L'chaim v'lo lamavet. And then we say, La sora v'lo l'razon. We should have plenty and not scarcity. We understand this to mean that we should be able to enjoy the plenty that we have. We want to have good health. We want God to give us. We also want to have good health. We want to be able to eat. As we get older, some of us find there's certain foods we can't eat anymore. We want to say, well, we'd like to eat them still. Right? I get bochfeitig every time I eat something I used to enjoy as a youngster. We want to physically fit to wear the nice clothes that we bought. We want to be able to go out and mix in company. That's why we say the opposite each time to the thing that we pray specifically for. And that's my bracha for all of us, that please God, we should pray for these things and we should have a life only abundant blessings, with no hints of any curses or anything about them, God forbid. We should have a meaningful, satisfying life right to the end. And Sova, we should have all the things that we need, and we should have the good health to enjoy it.
Thank you, Mark. As we're talking water, just an observation. I read about 10 days ago that Kinneret is only 70 odd centimeters from being full to its maximum, really. All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Rabbi Geoffrey, for that. That's, as usual, very interesting, very topical. The session next Tuesday, the last session before Pesach, is with Rabbi Lister. And I will cut off the Zoom now, then say the bracha achrona. Thank you, Carol, again for all your